the building that we have and stuff. But so right now, is all the rental places, are they all full?
There are, before we begin, if I can, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just open with a couple of remarks. One is, I think we ought to do some fact checking, Mr. Commissioner Chairman. I think some of the numbers that have been relayed out here, if you've been taking any notes, Greg, I saw you writing down numbers over there. I hope you fact check some of those numbers in terms of who's paid what and how many get paid. I might ask Commissioner Irwin, where did you get the idea that Charlie Scott was working for $12 an hour? Is that something he shared with you?
He shared it with me.
Can I share his W-2 with you? $42,000. Now, and that's a W-2. I can provide that. Now, you divide the 12.
Hey, that is Alleghany TV. That we're discussing the BDC.
We're discussing all of the items that you put on the
Just a
table.
minute, Brian, please. When one person asks a question, please let that person answer without having two people talk at the same time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, I will say this, I am happy to answer the questions and be forthright, but if all of those numbers and all of those accusations that were thrown out here for you folks to hear and presumably to accept, then I feel a responsibility to say a lot of that is just incorrect. Now, if the commissioner or the chairman wants to, the manager wants to provide me with a list, I couldn't write down all of those numbers that were flying around, but the Charlie Scott one is one I can tell you. There was $172,000, Mr. Manager. He said, could you use that money? Last year, the rents on that building were less than $60,000. So I don't know where the other $110,000 comes from. Maybe Commissioner Irwin knows where that money is.
I may be able to shed that. I think, and I was just trying to highlight as he was going through the minutes, in the February 17th, 22 minutes, I believe, Commissioner Irwin, you correct me, but there is a reference of $173,102.03.
In the bank.
Yeah.
That's not an annual rental income, which is what he inferred.
And that's all I'm communicating
Right.
is
And all I was
that's where that
pointing out
number
was the
came from.
minute figures. I got the figures from what you provided to me.
Well, you didn't get from me that we get $172,000 in rent a year.
And I didn't state that. I said in the minutes, and I read it from the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I got
Yes.
some more questions if I might.
Well, one other item was mentioned that Dale Cavaney.
Okay.
The Dale Cavaney was $20,000. The budget for Dale, and Dale resigned about this time last year. The last full year that he worked, less than $15,000. So I would just offer again, we can provide the W-2 for that as well. But I think it would be relevant for all of that list of money that's out there deserves some fact checking. Timmy, can I be glad to answer your question?
Okay, I was just, okay, I've got, there's no office space available now, correct? Or
There's a couple of spaces available. The office that Dale was using is currently available. We use it off and on as needed. There's a space that was just vacated within the last 30 days there where Sandra Busick was operating some therapy. It comes and goes, but I'm going to say, Timmy, we are 90+%
Okay.
filled at this point in time.
The other question is, I guess I seen in the paper, some of these folks, which some of them is obvious, like the library and the Wilkes Community College was 5-6 years or whatever, but I guess, so you still have some renters that's going past 1, 2, 3 years.
There has never been and I think to that point, an incubator is somewhat of a misnomer. Now, that was a fairly common term that was passed around 10, 12, 15 years ago doing incubators. I think if you will check around, there's very few of those facilities that were promoted as incubators at that time. are operating on any incubator basis, and I got a specific one in Watauga County that was formed about the same time that the one in Alleghany was. They have permanent office space up there. The incubator concept should just not pan out in these rural areas. You don't have the turnover of entrepreneurial interest coming through, because if we dedicated that building to that purpose, we would be sitting up there with about a 25% occupancy or less, and the numbers that Commissioner Irwin's sharing with you about what the county puts into it would look a whole lot more bleak than what they look now. So over the years, it was determined that the best and highest use of that facility was to put those renters in there and generate the rent. Now, reference to the fair market value, most of those offices are about 150 square feet. So those folks, and they are charged $150 a month, $1,800 a year. That's $12 a square foot is what that works out to. Now, I think you check around, you'll find out that there's not any comparable office space available or very little. There may be one or two examples, but you're not going to find 25 offices where these people could relocate to and pay, and it doesn't matter about the rent, they're not available. Now, Commissioner Irwin used the example of Marsha Waggoner's, the old pool room space. John, I'm familiar with that space. I don't know how you draw a comparison to that hole in the wall to any kind of space that's available at the BDC for any comparable purpose. There is no apples to apples comparison to that. And if you wanted to rent that, I'd be interested. When that was brought up as we were unfair competition, what's the rent that she wants for that space?
I never asked her.
Okay, well, good. That's, you really getting into the meat of it. If you're going to use that as an example to compare to the BDC and an unfair market situation, you ought to at least ask the question.
I got more questions. Okay, so if the county, say for instance, up here at the 90 South Main, if we run into a place that some of our offices, we needed office space for say, some department of it that we need, how is that, if they come in, if we needed a space, how would that be treated?
Well, right now, we just have to, we don't have space available to
Right.
accommodate that.
If you had space
Given now what we did a few months ago and came to this board and actually talked about it, the NC Tech Pass looked like that was going to be taken off in Alleghany County, and we were concerned that we needed some space and maybe need to accommodate that for the growth of that. The Journal Patriot Building, downtown North Wilkesboro, have done a complete renovation of that space, and now it is occupied as a co-working space similar to some of what we're doing here at the BDC. There is still optimism that at some point in time, because this NC Tech Paths program is growing really well, and they want to expand it into Ash and Alleghany, so it could be that we will have a need for space for this NC Tech Path program. For space, we would absolutely entertain that. We would need to know how much space and what's needed, and how would we go about accommodating the county's needs for that. But that board over there certainly would give a priority. One other point back to that building was purchased in 2001. It was actually purchased with a $500,000 grant that came from EDA. And there were some stipulations on that money when it came. Now, the county did the renovations for the building, but the initial cost of that building when it was purchased from Troutman Shirt under the name of Sparta Leasing Company, the $500,000 came from, at that time, our representative senator who just retired, Richard Burr, was in the House, and Richard helped us secure that $500,000 EDA grant. So there were some stipulations about how the building had to be used. That's where the idea of the telecenter came up at that point in time. The telecenter idea never materialized. However, under the Business Development Center, we did operate a technical IT service there for a number of years, and that IT service served the county, the town, and the school system for about 4 years. And the library, yeah. So, and the folks who operated out of there were serving the entire school system of Alleghany County, elementary schools, high school, and central office. Brendan O'Neill, who is now currently employed by the school system, he was one of our technicians that worked there. Larry Thompson operates a business down in Galax. He worked there. But over time, as the school system needed their own dedicated people, the county now has their own dedicated IT person. So there was less need to have that service, and we have Tim, the tech man, who provides that service to residential and other businesses around town. So it's been an evolution. I mean, things have changed, and we have had to adapt as certain things changed and as the business climate changed. But I would say that those 25 offices, plus or minus over there right now, that are occupied, those folks, first of all, they come to town every day and operate their businesses. They eat meals downtown, they shop, they buy gas. So they are making a contribution to this community with what they do every day. Plus, there is a social and fellowship opportunity that's there for those folks. Some of them, most of them could work out of their home. If they did that, they would be at home working from the computer. They would not have that interaction to share with folks. So there is, I think, a community benefit to having the Business Development Center. Now, I would offer this. If there is a higher and best use for that facility, I would be right with Commissioner Irwin. I would support that 100%, and I think that's what you all ought to be looking at. I think it ought to be based on actual, factual numbers, put together what the real numbers are in terms of your cost to operate that center, what it's going to generate, and we will be happy to support you. And if the analysis is that it's more beneficial to the taxpayers and citizens of Alleghany County to use that for some other purpose, I will be the first one to applaud you for that.
Can you, I know they were talking about the utilities, that's confirmed that the BDC pays for utilities?
Utilities last year, that's another number I think that might be was and electric, the total was $21,000. It's a little bit different, I think, than the electric being whatever the number I heard.
So another thing I seen in one of the minutes were a previous time, some tenant, actually, there was a leak in the roof, and then there was a conversation in one of y'all's meetings that he was trying to figure out who should pay for that, and I think they'd mentioned about the county and then said, no, we'll try to help with that. But don't these tenants, according to the contract, they're supposed to have their own tenant insurance, correct?
They should, yes. In this case, it was less than $300 was the extent of the damage. The leak occurred because the maintenance on the air conditioner unit on top of the roof was not properly maintained. So we had a damage. So ultimately, I think the responsibility for that damage would have come to the county. It was a maintenance issue on top of the roof. Didn't have anything to do with anything else. Now, with the tenant situation and the circumstances as they were, said it's not worth.
Yeah. It's not. That wasn't that big a deal. I was just wondering if there was a bigger deal, and then they come back at the county and said, "Oh, we think you're responsible." That's where we go back to the money's like, okay, you're all getting rent free. Mm-hmm. So then I guess that would be a conversation item, but I guess the way I look at it, it's just practical. That where you're getting the rent for it, then I guess the way it's all set up, it's a little bit in the gray area.
Yeah.
But it could happen again.
Sure, it could.
So,
it could. But we do have the general liability insurance.
Right, you all do have that
do
through
have
the
that.
BDC.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I think the idea, somebody said something about rent being free. I'm not sure.
No.
The county ain't getting nothing out of it, so evidently it's free.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Well, I don't know what you mean now.
Well, the county ain't getting nothing out of BDC.
Greg, Michelle's next. She asked.
I didn't know she was number 3, okay. Sorry about that, Bob.
But,
Are
yeah.
you finished, Timmy?
Okay, so I guess the last question is, okay, you pay for the utilities and stuff, administration fees. Is there any monies going to that? Maybe I'd missed that in there.
When we had a full-time manager over there, or actually a part-time manager, we haven't had a full-time manager in a couple of years. But when COVID pretty much shut things down, Dale significantly reduced his hours to about 10, 12 hours a week. He came in just to make sure, take care of the tenant issues or concerns. So very little time there in terms of administration, but we budgeted $15,000.
So you budget $15,000
Right.
a year. So you don't have anybody right now.
But we have Kate Irwin, who is
Kate
providing that on-site service, and then the board. I serve as kind of a representative for the board. I'm over there on a fairly regular basis, and I try to help and do what I can do.
Basically, 36. So I was just trying to get a handle on like the cost of what your budget.
And the $10,000 that the county contributes each year, that basically is to share the receptionist duties up front. They split that with the community college, and so that's what those funds are designated for, is to help with on the receptionist duties.
I've stuck up enough time. Go ahead.
Michelle?
I'd just like to say that I've sat on this board since I was elected, and it's a very professionally run board, and to make a statement like we could go to Vegas and spend all that money, Brian, Ken, everybody on the board is very professional, and every dime is accounted for. And I would just like to say that, the people that are in here now, I'm going to say 90% of these people that are renting, like he said, they would be at home. They would not be coming to town every day, buying groceries, gas, food, eating at restaurants, networking with these other people. This is economic development folded into economic development. And, I don't feel like that they are taking away from anybody who has a space for lease, because they wouldn't lease that space, because, they're paying for, I don't know if you all have been over to the BDC, but each one of those offices are in one small little room. That's what they're operating out of, is a room. And to pay $150 a month for a room, like he said, that's competitive to the other square footage that is around town, or even in, Surrey or Wilkes County. So, it's, to say that this is not a valuable asset to our county, I mean, gosh, I just don't know how it could be much more of a valuable asset than what it is. We've got Wilkes Community College in one part of it, the library in another part, and then all these businesses. So Bobby mentioned that I am on the Social Services Board. And I have spoken to Lisa Osborne, who is the Social Services Director. She was very, very concerned about the possibility of having to move over there. And she cited these concerns to me. She said, security concerns, irate clients potentially roaming around the entire building amongst the college students. The offices are very segregated at the BDC, which would not allow the other workers to know when someone might be in trouble with a client. Parking is a concern. There's not enough parking for DSS staff, plus clients, plus college staff, plus students, plus library patrons. Confidentiality. Clients would roam the hallways, which is a huge concern for confidentiality. Financially, the county's current guesstimated income from business is approximately $77,000 per month. That's $200 a month for 32 offices. That would go away. The county currently pays 50% rent for the current DSS building plus hospital building, which we just signed another lease in 2018 on that building with Bill Blevins. So, that just, we would receive no reimbursement for utilities, all expense to the county. The overall building, little to no room for growth, no way to separate the agency from the college unless locked doors were installed or walls built within the building. College personnel must have offices in the BDC as well as the library. The DMV office is also located there. Would those three entities be required to leave as well? Must have a room large enough for all agency personnel to meet in. Must have an empty office for our social worker for the blind. Building owners are currently responsible for repairs to the building. County maintenance picks up trash, cleans floor, and cleans the bathrooms. But overall, there's just no room for growth, and with the current state of Medicaid being in, it looks like we're going down a certain path for Medicaid reform. We're gonna have to hire at least 2 more positions. Plus, you have to have the empty office for the social work for the blind, the auditors, the state reps, VIA. It's just not enough room to do what they need. That's it.
Greg?
The bigger sign I'm getting at, BDC is putting nothing back into the county budget. We're keeping the building up. That's why it's coming from free. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
So would it be fair for the BDC to pay the county some back?
That's the decision I think the county board needs to think about. At this time, when it was originally conceived, 23, 4 years ago, as I say, Greg, it's gone through a number of iterations since then, and so if the county needed to rethink that, absolutely, and I will restate what I said earlier. If the county commissioners have a higher and better use for that building or a different arrangement for that building, I think all I would request is that you do a factual, fair evaluation so that you know what you're really talking about. Don't just take numbers that's pulled out of the sky. Look at the real numbers. What's the real number that goes into the equation? Factor it out, and if you come out on the bottom line where it's advantageous to this county and the citizens, then that's exactly what you should do. But if you come out on the bottom line and it's a $3,000 difference or a $10,000 difference and you're going to displace 25 workers over there, I think that's worth your consideration as well. So just look at the whole thing and be.
It would take quite a few dollars to. I don't say it's in bad shape, but it's not. This gym, like I said, and it's got a new entrance. Parking down here, we may lose a little bit, but we've got spaced out for about. Where when you go in this door right here, you're in the school. From this building to this building, from this building, there's a covered bridge there to get over here through to this gym. Much safer in this environment we live in right now. So,
Any questions? Michelle?
I have a question about the auditorium.
okay.
Did you get any help from the
Not for the auditorium, we didn't. We had to, the stairs that had collapsed in each hallway in the 7th and 8th grade building, those had to be fixed. We had some cracks and breaks, but, you know, the damage mainly in the auditorium were cracks. The radiators are 70 years old, and so that's the biggest issue with the heating problem there. We repair them. You can't get parts for them. We wrap them with rubber hoses, and it's one leak right after another. You know, we've had engineers look at it. Actually, and I will say this: I met with the new director about the earthquake relief. I met with him this morning. We went up to the tennis courts. We have a retaining wall up there that's got to be repaired. We got tennis courts that've got to be repaired, but the money that we were allotted originally was about $600,000, and we only have $90,000 left of that. So with that $90,000 we have right now, we've got 2 crushed drain lines in our cafeteria that have to be repaired, so the health department don't shut us down. She's going to let us Band-Aid it as soon as we can, as soon as we get to spring break. We're hoping Mr. Carey and his crew can get in there, but to fix it properly, the whole floor in the kitchen has to be ripped out to be redone. So we're trying to hold off. If this high school goes through, then we'll be okay. But we're going to use that $90,000 to repair that, And then we'll have to get some engineering drawings for that retaining wall because it's not a simple fix right now. They're afraid if, once the wall comes down, the whole bank may come down with it, and so, yeah. But I say that also too, that I've sent him the pictures of what it originally looked like. I sent him the engineering files that we have, that he's gonna go through all that with all the repairs that still need to be made that haven't been made. He's gonna request some more money from the General Assembly, and so I'm searching ways to find some money to fix those things, without having to. And he felt pretty good about it, but right now with the $7 million sewer project, that's going on, he said they were at near the end of the 23 million, and didn't have enough to fix that part of it, so. But he's got our engineer report too, he's looking at that for the school, for the auditorium, and for Sparta School as well, so.
I think Timmy's got a question.
On the auditorium,
Yeah.
and this may be a crazy question, stupid question, but again, I'm learning.
Yeah.
An auditorium's always talked about is separately from the Sparta School. So, like, it's my understanding, like, the state helps maintain, like, your school buildings and stuff, correct? Am I
The
correct?
state,
Yeah, does the state help?
the maintaining of schools is through the county
County,
commissioners.
all right.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
okay.
Capital projects, local
Okay.
expenditures.
Well, see, I
yes.
told you it's probably separate. So, learn something then. Okay.
That's why we're talking about it, because, yeah.
Rick?
That's a building we don't need to lose.
Yeah.
There's not one in the state.
What are you thinking this school building's gonna come in at? Can we do it?
We figured, when we were planning it, we were, at that time, public schools were being built for about $300 a square foot, and community college is about 400, and university is about 500. So, if we do that, we think it may come in around between 42 and 47 million, so.
How many square foot's that gonna be?
That's a good question, Greg. I wish I had them in front of me, but I will say this, it's designed to Department of Public Instruction specs. Nothing's any bigger, but nothing's any smaller either. If it's classroom that's supposed to be 850 square feet, that classroom's 850 square feet, so.
Now, when you get this built, is that including desks, cafeteria stuff?
Cafeteria, yes. Yeah, equipment. The company that we work with, the child nutrition, they were able to do some of that cost, especially for the stoves, freezers, refrigerators, all that, yeah. They'll be a part of that. They can help pay for that piece, yeah. Yeah, that doesn't include, this is a building cost. That's it, it's a building
Outside the
cost.
land, grading.
Yeah, the grading, parking, paving, all that's included in that cost. But yeah, none of the furniture will not be. Now, we do have some new technology in that building that we've put in, like the wireless drops and those types of things. We'll be able to take those out, move them, and put them back in the new building while it's being built, but,
While this being built, are we still gonna have the old one running so they can still keep having school?
yes, yeah. Yeah, what our plan is, it'll be a couple phases, so, once we get, we'll be able to get students in there in class. Start with our last phase will be the Career and Technical Education Center. I've talked with Dr. Cox with Wilkes already, so we're in the process of making some plans there, of being able to use the BDC down there. But it's going to be tricky, but I think we can get it done, But yeah, we're not going to stop school. We can't.
Go ahead.
So, if you get all these numbers back and you are running close to 47, then what?
Then what?
Yeah.
Will come to you guys. But I'll say this, Mr. Evans. That's $47 million right now. Ain't costing taxpayers $1. You ain't got to pay any of it back. Let's say you had to come up with $10 million. Where can you build a new high school nowadays for $10 million? You can't. I mean, you can't. And I'll just, when this project is complete, that high school is going to be over 60 years old right now. And would love for you guys to come up and we'll tour you and just kind of show you what it looks like right now. And so if you want to see cracks between walls and floors 6 to 8 inches wide, I'll show them to you. You know, if you want to see, you take some of the metal off that building, bricks will start falling off of it. We can use it, but it's not going to be around for long, you know. And so if you wait another 10 years to try to do this project, I don't know where you'd come up with $80 million, just to be honest with you. Yeah.
How long is this project gonna take?
3 to 5 years.
So y'all could use the Wilkes Community College building, the Troutman building for classrooms if you needed to for 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We sure can.
Something to keep in mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure can. So.
Jimmy?
So we'll take it a step at a time.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. That's why we want to keep meeting with you guys, and I want to keep you updated and just let you know where we're at. So, but
Will you have school and trailers too? Will you have to bring in mobile trailers?
I hope not. But we may. You know, we really don't have the room for it. One of our biggest problems we're going to meet is parking, and but we do have the practice field. We've got that area. The area beside the central office, up from NAPCO where they've built, that is our land. But when we start putting the AstroTurf on this summer, when we take that dirt off, that's going to start filling that area in too. Once we get that filled, we want to get that paved and get it set up for parking. Even if we don't get it paved, if we put gravel on it, that will give us some extra parking too. We've got a little extra space that I've talked to Rocky about that we may be able to use, and then we could shuttle kids back and forth when they park down there, or we can park some down at Sparta too and shuttle kids. We could use some very little mini buses to do that. So, yeah.
John, any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Carter? School board, do y'all have any comments?
Like a once in a lifetime opportunity. We're all very excited to see it happen. We're blessed to be able to have the opportunity. You know, student school rank. A new high to them opportunity as a school to be excited as well. Beasley has worked very hard on this for a long time. He and the staff really have.
I think if you look at, as far as I can remember, there's never been this amount of money spent in Alleghany County, $47 million. That's,
It's almost hard to believe.
That's not counting. Field for
keeps our high school.
It's not just the next generation, but the generation after that and the generation after that. You know, it takes a huge burden off of this county for the next 50 years. I mean, that's my personal opinion, but I do believe that. I mean, this just takes a large burden off, you know. But it's got to be a joint commitment from all of us, and so, you know, that's why we want to continue working with you. But I thank y'all for letting us come tonight. We're going to go into recess because we've got to go back to central office and take care of some personal. If you guys don't have anything else, and I'll touch base with Mr. Carter, and maybe the next one we may have it up at the old high school, and so if it works out. So
Thank you for coming. Thank you, board, for coming, and
Thank you for having us.
continue your meeting.
Thank you all very much.
emotion.
Thank you.
Motion to Y'all have a good evening.
We'll go eat one morning.
I agree. It is gonna take a burden off, but we don't need to be adding more burden either. We'll see when they come back with numbers. Get a step at a time.
Be 2 or 3 visits.
Well, we have a,
Go
go to the meeting.
Well, we're just about right on time for our normal meeting, and I believe there's a few people that want to speak, public comments, but I think they're standing out in the hall. If, I'll ask them to come in if they still want to speak. Just you, Alan? Okay, we'll open this session to public comments. We have one citizen, we've got stay as close to 3 minutes as you can. I'll let you know when you get close. So, go ahead, Alan.
I'm Alan Souther from Piney Creek. I'm here tonight to have you discuss the landfill situation. We farm in Piney Creek, and when we took our first load of farm trash to the dump this year, we were told we were going to have to pay, and we never paid in the past. And we inquired after that, and we found no answers on who said you had to pay or when you started paying. So I contacted all the commissioners, and no one had any knowledge of this or when it started or how it got started. And I'd like y'all to consider not charging farmers for their trash. We have bailage, we have net wrap, we have plastic. It all goes in the dump trailer. We come about once a month, and we put our household trash in there too to save coming to town. So it's an inconvenience not to be able to do that. And we just feel like the farmers shouldn't be charged for their trash. And several other farmers that I contacted felt the same way, but it's hard to get everybody together on a nice day like today to come down here. So appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Alan. Appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question?
Sure.
Excuse me, sir. Yes. Is that plastic recyclable? I know whenever you and I talked on the phone, you said you'd check it.
Where it is recyclable. The cardboard box that comes.
Thank you.
With that being said, does anybody else have a public comment? Nobody else outside? Bradford? Okay. I'll go ahead and close. First up is general business. If you look at your agenda, this is a little bit changed from what we have been. This is general business, and this is for information. And first up is Commissioner Greg Walker.
I'd like to ask our maintenance manager to come over here and explain the landfill situation Alan was just asking about. Maybe you can help us out a little bit, Alan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. On this is a definition of agricultural waste, and the definition of agricultural waste is stalks and stems and things that is grown in direct relation to raising of animals. Now, everything that we bring into the transfer facility must be taken to the landfill, which is located in Caldwell County. We have a charge for that, which we have a waste fee tax that we charge the citizens of Alleghany County for residential trash, which is the $98 a year that entitles you to bring your household waste to the transfer facility. We also have residential and/or business-related properties that's in the county for an additional $60 a year, which is total of $158, that you can bring your trash in, and you bring your trash in, and that's the only charge that you have as far as that goes. So we have several businesses in the county. They do pay that extra $60 a year in order to bring their trash into the facility as far as that waste goes. Our waste stream bale wrap, we don't mind taking bale wrap. Bale wrap is fine. The plastic wrap, it's a little bit cumbersome. The net wrap, it's okay. It doesn't weigh a lot, but it is a nuisance. It gets wrapped up in the loader, and it's those guys have to crawl up under that thing and cut it out. So if the waste is brought in and packaged, why, certainly that could be a consideration. But as far as what we do, we accept, we charge for construction waste, we charge for the pallets, we charge for the brush. All those is extra charges because they cost the county in order to dispose of. So, we do the best we can and try to save as much money as possible. And, it's kind of like the earthquake stuff. It was all about the citizens. This is all about the citizens. But the citizens needs to help us and understand that we're doing the very best we can with what we have to work with. And, it's 100 times better than it was 4 years ago. But we're looking to make some more improvements. But as far as that goes, agricultural waste, there is a definition for that. Barns and fencing and all those things is going to come in as construction material. Those have to be charged for as well. But as far as that goes, if we so choose, we already have that in the fee schedule, in the fee structure. That extra $60 a year, bring in as much as you want. So,
Greg's still up, John.
So the farmers could bag up that hay wrap and all, and throw it in a bag, and when nothing be said, wouldn't be charged for it.
right. It needs to be where it's contained. Would be, and that's part of it. But it doesn't weigh that much. And it's not like, a bundle that comes off of a bale.
So a farmer can bring anything they want in and pay an extra $50 or $60 a year, and he's no more charge.
Right.
Finish, Greg?
Anybody else got anything? Yeah.
I think my question was answered, Mr. Southern. That sounds like the plan there.
Yeah, we just wondered who implemented it.
Yeah.
Tell us who that.
In December for $1,000. Approved steps that advertise the they will be.
They've met all the qualifications, the checks.
They don't have to make a deposit.
Questions? Greg,
This
Timmy?
is-
John,
Is
go
this
ahead.
$1,000 a lot for the 3 lots, or
It's total.
the 3 lots, 1,000?
Yes.
How big are the lots?
Commissioners can also bid on this if they want to upset it.
I got time.
Oh, yeah.
That's the reason it needs to be advertised. Because people out in the community say, oh my gosh, somebody's getting this for $1,000.
The other question I've got, it says 1 parcel per bid sheet. So we should have 2 more, should we not? Not combine parcels if bidding on multiple properties. That's 3 lots.
I'll bring it up here in a minute on the screen. Yeah. Heather's looking at it.
3 parcels?
It's one parcel.
Oh, 1 parcel.
The one up close to Piney Creek School.
They got 14,000 in tax assessments. Maybe we should bid, Bob.
So 3 pieces are
3 lots.
5 acres? Oh, I'm looking at the top one,
Look at all 3 of them. It's the bottom one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
the bottom one, okay. 2 acres, yeah.
Heather, we okay, or?
It may be 3 lots, but it's considered one parcel because it has one parcel ID number. It's not taxed separately for all 3.
Okay, all
It's not that it's combined, although I haven't looked at the deed. It's